Welcome to Resilience in Life and Leadership with your host, Stephanie Olson. Hi, I'm so excited about this next guest. Alexis Lawson is joining us, and she is the founder and owner of Detox Sober Lounge. With having 4 years of sobriety, she's passionate about helping others stay sober by providing a safe, sober environment for them to come hang out so they do not feel as if they have to give up that nightlife. And I am thrilled to do this podcast going into the holidays because for people in recovery, it can be a very difficult time. So let's meet Alexis. Hello, welcome to the Being Resilient podcast. And I am here with Alexis Lawson, and I am so excited because Alexis has opened Detox Sober Lounge, which is a sober lounge, I guess, right? And when I first saw it, I was so thrilled. One of the only ones in I'm just gonna let Alexis tell the story, and we'll hear directly from Alexis. So, welcome to the Being Resilient podcast. I'm glad that you're with me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, share your story.
Okay. So Detox Sober Lounge is an idea because I am in recovery myself, and there's not a lot of things for us to do in
Yeah.
recovery that doesn't involve alcohol. And when it comes to like shooting pool, playing darts, dancing, karaoke, comedy, so I got the idea to start my own, so that way we can have this space that's safe for us. And it's not just for people in recovery. I made it for individuals in recovery mostly, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning that a lot of people outside of the recovery world is actually appreciating the idea and able to come out and enjoy a good night without alcohol as well. So that's really cool.
It's
Um,
great. Yeah, I love it.
so I started using drugs and alcohol at a very young age. I was 12 when I started
Um,
smoking weed and drinking alcohol, and it was a fun thing at one point.
mm-hmm.
Something we looked forward to on the weekends, me and my friends to do, and then it progressed through the years. And by the time I was 16, I was about a daily pot smoker.
Mm.
Um, then I didn't finish school. I was drinking still. By the time I was 18-ish, 18, I was doing coke and just dabbling here and there. And because I was selling drugs as well.
Mm-hmm.
And my idea was if I did them, I could stay awake to sell more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that wasn't very smart. But I met a girl when I was 18 who also she did crack cocaine, and I got introduced to crack cocaine at 18. So that really catapulted me into a whole nother dimension of
Yeah.
drug addiction.
Yeah. So, also in recovery, and it definitely is just kind of an insidious cycle, where you don't think it's going to be a problem, you think it's under control, and then it just keeps spiraling. So, why do you think? Because I know what it was for me, but what do you think was the attraction to drugs and alcohol, or the attraction to, because at first it's not a draw that you have to be there. What was the attraction to it?
Um, Fun,
Hmm.
to fit in, to feel comfortable being myself. Um, like alcohol gave me a sense of popularity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I was like somebody different every time I drank that I wasn't when I was sober. And I was always like a low self esteem having kid.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I had the esteem boost with alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
And I now today realize that it's all false, but at the time I didn't realize it. It just made me feel like something powerful.
Yeah. That's good. I can totally relate. So tell me a little bit about how you got into recovery.
So like I mentioned, at 18, I was on crack cocaine, and
Mm.
I ended up getting pregnant and had a baby at 20, and she got taken away from me.
Mm.
CPS. Um,
Was she born addicted?
she was not born addicted.
Okay.
They took her on my admission of me using. I had her
Okay.
early.
Okay.
So when I had her, they asked, was I using drugs and alcohol? I told them, yeah, but it had been weeks, so we didn't test positive or anything like that. So they took her on my admission only.
Wow.
And yeah, I was blown away because they assured me that they weren't asking those questions for that reason. They asked me those questions, they said, for her safety.
Mm-hmm.
I went into labor early, so I trusted the doctors and told them the truth. And she stayed in ICU for about 6 weeks.
Mm.
And when I came to get her, the day I came to get her, the foster parents were there, and they told me and my family we couldn't go back. And the CPS lady came out and dropped the news on us. And
So no warning at all
no
before
warning.
that?
Nope, no one
Wow.
reached out. No one called. For a whole 6 weeks, we didn't think nothing of it. We trusted the doctor.
Mm.
They said it was just basically on. It was just for her safety. So that uh, floored me, and I literally know at that point is when my alcoholism kicked in heavily.
Yeah.
It kicked up lots of notches because I couldn't use drugs because they're drug testing me to get. I was going through the whole CPS thing, so my mind was, oh well, I can drink because they're
Right.
not
Right.
testing me for that, right? So I was drinking every day heavily, morning to night, um, and I didn't complete treatment. That was one of the requirements they asked of me to get custody of my daughter, and I did not. I did all of the requirements besides completing treatment.
Mm.
I didn't think I had a problem, and I wasn't willing at that time to be honest.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was still in denial. Everything was everyone else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
It was poor me, CPS, it's the doctor's fault, it's my caseworkers, the
Right.
treatment therapist. It was everyone. I just wasn't ready. So yeah, I ended up relinquishing my rights when she was 3. My grandparents did foster her up until she was 3, and then they adopted her at 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
So she's still around in my
That's
family,
great.
which is a blessing. Yes.
That is great. And so you
Yes.
get to see her often, and
Yes.
that's fabulous. I love that.
Yes.
So what was it? Was there a turning point that you thought, okay, I gotta be done with this? Or
You would think that would have been the turning point, but
yeah,
it
I
wasn't.
have one of those. Yeah. I
Yeah.
would say you would have think that would have done it, but it didn't.
It
Yeah.
wasn't enough.
Hmm.
I still party really hard, heavily up until the age about 27 when I caught a attempted robbery case and I was facing 20 years. And the numbers
Wow.
on that paper was really scary.
Yeah.
However, prior to me getting arrested, I remember driving in a car with one of my good friends and just like crying out to God, help me get off the drugs. I don't want to do meth. By this time, I was on meth. I didn't want
Wow.
to do meth anymore. And I was looking for this, I guess, miracle to just come down and make me not do drugs and crave the drugs. That wasn't God's plan. His plan was a little rougher. I went to jail. I
Yeah.
went to
I was
jail.
looking for a miracle cure.
Yeah, me too. It's like you want this over him to just take the urge away and
Uh-huh.
desire
Yep.
and make your life better, right?
Yep.
And it wasn't a thing. Now I know, being in recovery, that
Yeah.
that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Something dramatic or traumatic has to really happen for us to, get our attention.
Yeah.
That for me was scary. I was tired too by then. I had been using at that point for 15 years.
Wow.
So when I went to jail is when I started writing treatment centers and asking for
Mm.
help. So I got sober the first time in 2009 on my own, knowing that I needed help and
Yeah.
went willingly and open to the idea.
Wow. That is amazing. So how was treatment?
Well, coming from jail, it was great.
I love it.
Yeah, so I mean, in the beginning, of
It's all
course,
perspective, right?
it is all perspective.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it was great, and then of course it was tough. I learned a lot about myself in treatment. They just the structure and the boundaries they set with me. It was rough, like I said, I had been trying to do it back when I was trying to get my kid back, and I couldn't
Mhm.
graduate. I just kept getting kicked out of treatment, leaving treatment. um and this one I just really tried to make sure I stayed, but it was rough. I went in there
Yeah.
with that same mentality and they wasn't having it, but I was so ready to try something different. I was more willing to give,
Mm.
like, follow the rules. And yeah, it was rough, but I loved, where I went to treatment, Stephen Center.
Mhm.
I graduated and I stayed there for like 3 months past the time I graduated, so about a total of 9 or 10 months as a transitional living client. And then I relapsed, though. I had a relapse.
Yeah, which is
Relapse is part
really
of the story.
common. Yeah.
I thought that I could still drink.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, I'm not, it's been all these months, I haven't done any drugs. I can just drink. So I went out and drank and I was smoking crack. But at the end of that night, I was
Yeah.
back off to the races for three
Yeah.
months.
I think it's hard. You know, I think we put sometimes our addiction in boxes like, well, I can do this, but I can't do this, or I can, and what we forget sometimes is that it's a progressive disease. It just keeps going. So when we stop, so if we stop with the addiction in, let's say, 2010, and we don't start again until 2030,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it never stopped. When we start again in 2030, it's like we just have continued in the addiction. And so that's the piece. And so you may start slow, but by the time, I mean, it doesn't last. You're
Yeah,
you're
it's
back at
progressive.
it. Yeah.
That's true. It's like kind of like if you have a disease, which I believe it is a disease of
Yeah.
alcoholism. If you have a disease and you take your medicine and you're good for a while, you stop taking your medicine, you're no longer good, right?
Yeah.
So it never goes away. So I have to constantly work every day at not only staying sober, but staying sane.
Yeah. Yeah. They go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand because you start to
Yeah.
lose your sanity and your spiritual connection, then you're headed towards a relapse because now
That's
you
right.
have all these negative emotions and feelings you want to make feel better.
So, I think one of the things that really surprised me was that I didn't just crave when when I was feeling bad, but I remember one day I was driving home and it was sunny and the music was blaring. I had the windows open. I was like, I want to drink. And it just
Celebrate.
caught me off guard. Yeah, because I had this image that I'd only relapse if it was, this horrible moment or whatever. And unfortunately, I didn't take a drink that day, but that was the biggest I really had to recognize that, yeah, it's every day,
Mhm.
all the time, no matter what, and you just have to be on guard.
Yeah, I didn't need a reason to drink or drug either.
Yep,
It can you wake up, that's a reason.
that's right.
Time to go to bed, nightcap. There was
Yeah,
no. But yeah, you're right. This happy moments, nice weather.
yeah.
Um, you get a new job. You're just feeling good. You want to
Mm-hmm.
celebrate. So yeah, so you have to every day practice, a program of recovery and filling that void. I like to tell people, like the alcohol and drugs was in you, so you remove it out of you, so now you have a big hole. You have to
Mm,
constantly fill that hole with something, or else the alcohol and drugs is going to find its way back in that
yeah,
hole. And
yeah,
that something can't be material, can't be relationships. It has to be spiritual.
right.
Service work in a program, something fulfilling. And that's where I'm at right now, working on filling that void with meaningful things, because I've done the whole filled it up with jobs and money and women
Mm-hmm.
and it don't work,
Yeah,
ended up relapsing again. So
yeah.
if
Because
you
it
fill
has to
yourself up,
go
sorry,
ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm saying, so if you fill yourself up, then the chances of you wanting to turn to alcohol and drugs is less likely because you're full.
I love that. And you have to get out of yourself to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't do that it's got to be outside of yourself. I love that. That's
that's true.
amazing. So how long then, so you relapsed, you were right back in. How long was that journey of being right back in it?
So when I relapsed in 2000. or 9. I got back sober in 2010. So it was 6 years from then. I was sober till
Mm.
2016. I
Wow.
stayed sober for 6 years, but that's when I was filling that void with
Mm-hmm.
money, things, clothes, shoes, nice car, TVs,
Mm-hmm.
everything on the outside that didn't really matter. And I was still a dark hole, and I was empty in the inside, and I was miserable and suicidal.
Mm.
I
Wow.
wanted to kill myself and didn't know why. My family was like, "Why are you so depressed? You got everything. You're doing
Wow.
so great." And I didn't understand either. I don't know. I felt like I was just doomed.
Yeah.
But I now know that I wasn't doing the right things. I wasn't working a program of recovery. I wasn't doing any service work. I wasn't working on my goals and things that drive me, like that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Just punching someone else's clock and just making money. That's not fulfilling for me. I needed to be working on my passion.
So how'd you
And,
figure that out?
oh, when I came back this time, I always knew I had an entrepreneur spirit because I was a drug dealer, and
Mm-hmm.
I did a whole bunch of other illegal activities, and I
Yeah.
did well.
Right.
So when I got sober this time, I started trying out different. Oh, I watched Steve Harvey's Jump
Okay.
video. You guys haven't seen it? It's on YouTube. He talks about taking a leap and jumping
Mm-hmm.
into your passion. And if you never jump, you'll never know. What's the
Wow.
worst that can happen? You hurt yourself. It hurts to not jump.
Yeah.
So that got me. I literally quit my job that day.
Wow.
I shouldn't have probably done that, but I did. I said, "That's it." Steve Harvey said, "Jump, I'm
Thanks,
jumping."
Steve Harvey.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Steve
that's
Harvey.
great.
And it was bad. So, but I quit and I started an eBay business. And
Oh,
I
wow.
started buying and selling clothes from thrift store and be selling them on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
So then and I was like, okay, I like when I want to work for myself. This is cool. And I got really into that for a while. And then it kind of went away after some events happened in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I did away with that and I started a coaching idea. I was like, I'm gonna be
Hmm.
a life coach. And then my therapist was like, Alexis, you can't be a life coach until you have coached yourself.
That's a good
He said, how
therapist.
about you take your program and work on yourself for a while and then see what happens? So I was bummed out about that. I was like,
That's
all right,
great.
so I have been doing that though. And then
Yeah.
I came up with the idea of Detox Sober Lounge. So, but the more I experimented with trying my own businesses and trying different things, it let me know that I no longer want to work for someone for a long time. I want to work
Mm-hmm.
for myself at some point, and that alone pulls me enough and gives me enough to know that it's not worth me going out there doing drugs and alcohol anymore. Just the thought alone and knowing I could be successful with the same skills, just in a legal way
I
and
love it.
fulfilling way.
I love it. So, so how did you come up with Detox Sober Lounge? Because were you modeling it after something else, or was it just, hey, I need a place to go?
Yeah, no. When I came up with the idea, I thought it was just my idea. It was literally like an aha moment. We were leaving the Hamilton Club, which is an AA club that we go to. It was midnight. We normally go and get pancakes and coffee. And I didn't want to go that night. It's like, I'm
Hmm.
tired of this, tired of pancakes, tired of coffee. We need
Yep.
to go to the pool. We want to go play darts. And I said, we need our own spot. And I was
Mhm.
said it out loud to everyone. It was like, yeah, that'd be dope. So then I started looking into it, and then I
Mhm.
found out that there's 5 more United States, and
But
one
only five.
only
That's,
5.
yeah.
And then I was a little disappointed because I was like, oh man, someone else already doing it. But then I realized that I could just leverage that and do my own because there's none out here.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I met the owner of Sands Bar in San Antonio, and he told me he started with $200 popping up around town doing pop up events.
Wow.
I was like, I can do that. So I started doing pop up events, and then until we got our building.
Oh, I love that. And I was so excited to see that because I've been sober for a long time. But when I got sober, I always thought, how am I going to have any fun without alcohol?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do? And so that was a really hard thing for me. And finally realizing, I don't need to be drinking. I don't need to be doing drugs to actually have fun. And
Right.
but it was a process. And I think if there was some place like detox, that I would be able to actually go and have those good times in a safe environment. I think people who aren't in recovery don't realize how triggering alcohol can be in certain situations, and so being able to go to a place that is safe is huge. Wow. So
Yes, it
t-
is.
tell me the response you've received from people.
Um, People are grateful. They come into the lounge and they're like, "Thank you for this. Thank you for having this." I get thank yous every night that we're open. From customers that come in and just like, "Wow, thank you."
That's amazing. And what do you serve?
So we have mocktails for the drinks, which is a non-alcoholic cocktail.
Hmm.
Then we have, of course, sodas, coffee, Red Bull, and Monster and stuff like that. And then we also have nachos, chips and salsa, sloppy Joe
That's
sandwich.
important right there. Yeah. Nachos
Yeah.
are kind of key. Yeah. I love it.
So we have a full commercial kitchen. We're just raising money right now to get the equipment in it so
Mm,
we can have a bar menu, like a whole menu with different foods. Right now, we're operating from the other side of the kitchen, which is the bar side of things.
okay.
So the health
Okay.
department won't allow us until we get commercial equipment, and then
Yeah.
we can only do certain things.
That
So at some point, we'll have food, lots of food.
that is great. That's exciting. And do you have a staff, or are
We
they
do.
volunteers, or
They're all volunteers. There's
that's great.
14 of us. There's
Wow.
14 of us right now, and everyone's a volunteer right now. We have servers, bartenders, floaters, and then we have security. We have a DJ. I have a fundraising coordinator. I have a chief financial officer. Um, yeah, there's an event coordinator. So like, yeah,
That is amazing.
come together.
I love it. So anything, any advice or anything that you'd want to say to people who are struggling with addiction, or who are just kind of in that place of, well, I don't know if I am or if I'm not, what would you say?
Well, if you have to ask yourself that question, chances are something may be wrong.
Yeah.
Not here to tell you that because you have to figure that out on your own. But when I came back this time with my tail tucked,
Mm.
I literally I said, okay, I'm gonna give this 110% for 1 year and see what
Wow.
happens. What's the worst can happen? If I don't succeed, I can always go back to drugs and alcohol. So give yourself, give it a shot. 6 months out of your life, try, a 12-step program or treatment, just to figure out if you are and if you can fix it now as before it's too late.
Mhm.
You don't want to go to where, a lot of us go to where we've ranked credit, we've ranked our records, we've ranked relationships. Some people, they run their life and die. It doesn't have to be that. Give it a shot. Come
Yeah.
try something different.
Mm. Did you find that you had to, they say, you have to change your playground and your playmates. Did you have to
Yeah.
do a whole life change?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't socialize with anyone that I was using with anymore. Uh, I had where I was homeless, so that changed when I'm no longer homeless. So I mean, like, yeah, my playgrounds, which is here in my city, it doesn't
Hmm.
really trigger me. But when I first got sober, I couldn't go to certain neighborhoods because the liquor store or the
Yep.
houses would make me crave, that moment, the drug, or have memories.
Right.
So in the beginning, yes, just I avoided neighborhoods and stores and people, for that matter.
Yeah,
So, but now I feel like after 4 years, I'm in a place where I can go into any neighborhood or store and not be triggered.
that's great.
When I first got sober, I couldn't even go to any gas station. I found
Mm,
myself going to the beer cooler, just standing there like, I didn't come to get beer. What? And then it hit
wow.
me that I came to get a soda or water and I had to shake it off and walk away. Like I would just stand there and
Yeah,
stare like it's a habit.
it is a habit. Absolutely.
So
Wow.
I was like, no more gas stations.
That is amazing. Well, you truly inspire me. I love
Thank you.
your story. I love what you've done. I think it's absolutely amazing. And you've come back from some really tough stuff, and not only come back, but you've turned it into something that is going to bless and benefit so many people. And I love that. I love that this is in our city. I really do. I
Thank
really
you.
do. And this podcast reaches a whole bunch of other areas, but right here in Omaha, Nebraska, we've got one of 5 sober
Yes.
lounges. That is fantastic. And I would love to see those pop up all over, because other people need those. So maybe you just start franchising
Branching
out.
out. Yep, that's the plan.
I
That's the
love it.
plan.
Anything else you'd like to share?
I'd like to offer a free drink to anyone who's listening to this podcast. Just come into the lounge and mention that you heard it on this podcast, and we'll give you your first free drink.
That is fantastic. Okay, so you heard it right here. You mentioned the Being Resilient podcast, and that you heard Alexis on it, and you get a free drink. I will be there. I will buy my drink, but I am just so excited to just be a part of what you're doing in the very small way that I am. I love it. I love it. How can people find you and find Detox Sober Lounge?
Okay, so we're located at 7215 Blondo Street in Omaha, Nebraska. That's around the corner of 72nd and Blondo. We have a website, it's www.detoxsoberlounge.com. That's DetoxSoberlounge.com. We also have a Facebook page, it's Detox Sober Lounge. We have an Instagram, Detox_Sober Lounge. And we have a phone number. So our phone number is 531-375-5741.
Great. And I will have all of that information in the bottom of the podcast. And so if you are in Omaha or in a surrounding area, please check out the Detox Sober Lounge. And if you're not, I would say reach out on Facebook, check out the website, and then touch base with Alexis if that's something you'd like to see in your area. So I think that would be fantastic. Thank you so much for being on and sharing your story, and just being an inspiration to everybody out there who has been in recovery, who understands addiction, and who needs to be in recovery, because it is not easy. Very difficult road, but you really are an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I've never done a podcast before.
Well, and so yes, I was your first, and then
Yes,
I would love to do this again. And maybe we can touch base and see how Detox Sober Lounge is going, and we'll connect again and hear more. So thank you. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Being Resilient podcast, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening. Please share with anyone you think will benefit from this podcast.